Hi, team. Hello, hello. Sorry, I had to do my trigger shot. So I was a few seconds late. Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys? Hey, Elizabeth. Sorry, I was doing my little shot. That one stung a little bit. Hey, Shelby. Hi. Hi, everybody. Jump on. Hello. Hope you guys are doing fabulous. Get your pen and paper out. Hey, Ashley, tag your teams. We are going to dive straight in. So, hi, Renee. Y'all send this to your team chats. This is going to be packed full of knowledge. You're not going to want to miss it, okay? So y'all say hey, hey, hey when you jump on. Hi, Kylie. Hello. How is everybody? Hey, Rebecca. Sorry, I was a few minutes late. I was giving myself a shot. I have been, Susan. Busy day. Hey, Rebecca. Hi, Randy. Hi. Hey, girl. Hey. Okay. I hope you have pen and paper out. This is going to probably be a live that you're going to have to watch and rewatch, okay? Because I'm going to give you everything I've got and I ain't going to slow down, okay? I probably could have broken this up into 2 videos, but we'll just do it in one and then I'll do a second part. Hi, Ashley Ann. Had to do this shot. Yes. Hi, Brooke. Hi. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. Y'all, I have like 2 cold sores in my mouth and they hurt, okay? They hurt. Yes, gonna be getting you some nuggets. What? Y'all, if I say anything loony, just blame it on the medicines. They have given me so many shots, I don't even know what to do with, okay? Hey, Faith. Hi. But there'll be a lot of things that you're just gonna need to watch and rewatch and watch again, okay? Because I truly believe, listen to me, I truly believe that if you can master this, and I'm going to bring my computer right here. If you can master this, you are going to make a ton of money and you're going to make a great impact. But you've got to master this. And I'm going to use my life as an example because I feel like I'm really good at this and I'm getting better. Thank you, Allie. Hey, Estella. So if you can master what we're going to talk about tonight, which is storytelling, I truly believe that you can make a ton of money and you can make a great impact. So let's just dive in. Again, you're going to probably have to watch and rewatch because I'm not going to slow down to give you time to write, but you're going to be able to come back, okay? Hey, Courtney, just because there's so much and I don't want to make this like an hour-long video. I want it to be impactful and you just come back and grab what you need, okay? So storytelling, all right? Storytelling. If you become an expert in this, you're going to see great results. Y'all, your life, you have tons of stories that you can collect, okay? I can think of tons of stories for many of you. I have tons of stories of myself, okay, that I have collected over time, but I convey emotion in them, okay? I don't just share the story to share the story. I convey the emotion behind the story, whether it's a sad, happy, tragic, excited, whatever the story is, I convey that emotion when I am doing my stories, okay? Your stories, the reason stories are so impactful is because it connects with people, all right? For example, right now, I'm sharing my fertility journey, my story, okay? I'm taking people on this journey and people are engaged. Y'all, my live today had 85 people on it at 2:00 in the afternoon. Do what? Why is that? Because I'm building this story and people are invested, okay? You are having people put themselves in your shoes. When you tell these stories, and we're going to talk about what these stories look like and how to portray stories and how to do storytelling. But when you do that, you need to think, I'm going to put myself in those people's shoes. okay? Or I want them, when they hear my story, to be able to put themselves in my shoes, that they can relate with it so well that they're like, oh, she's speaking to me, okay? So when you are telling stories, though, I want you to tell a story, but in that story, you're solving a problem. My post that I made today, I made a post saying about how that one time I only had $100 in my bank account and I had to buy groceries, I had to pay bills, I had to do this, that, and the other. But then I joined a pharmacy and now I don't have to live. I took people on a journey. One, they can relate, they can put themselves in there. I told a story, but I solved a problem with the opportunity. Does that make sense? Okay. So there are 3 parts. Hi, Tisa. Hi, Heather. Hi, Erica. There are 3 parts to a story that you've got to get really good at, okay? Really good at this to master this, all right? And then there's different types of stories. We're going to talk about that you can share. But there's 3 parts of a story that you've got to get really good at. The first part is that every story has some sort of flow to it. Okay, it has a past, a present, and a future. Okay, so you're going to start off with in the past, you don't have to say in the past, but when you are sharing this story, something like a life story, whatever, in the past, give people what happened in the past. Today, I talked about I live in paycheck to paycheck. I was living one time a month being paid. I only had $100 to groceries. I took people in the past, okay? That's the first part of a story. The second part is since I did this, okay? Since I did that, since I joined pharmacy, since I tried these products, since I bought this, since I invested in this, whatever, that middle, the present, since you're doing it, okay? And then the third part is, and in the future, what is happening? There's a past, a present, and the future. That is the 3 parts of a story that you need to make sure that you are conveying when you are doing these stories with people. Okay, in the past, I did this. Since trying this, or since doing this, since blah, 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 the future, this is what is happening. Okay, again, I just made a post. In the past, I was living paycheck to paycheck. Since joining pharmacy, I no longer have that. And the financial freedom that is providing for my family, okay, past, present, and future, it brings people along on a journey, okay? The more stories you tell, the better, okay? I want you to also tell stories that touch you. I remember how I felt in that moment when I only had $100 in my bank account. I remember how I felt in different situations, good and bad, happy and sad. I remember the feeling. If it doesn't mean something to you, it's not going to mean something to other people. So don't share it. Don't just sit here and be like, okay, what story could I share? No, if it doesn't mean anything to you, then it's not going to mean anything to other people. So think of stories that are going to touch people. Find stories that make you laugh, cry, smile, whatever it is. There are tons of stories. It doesn't have to be a sad one every time. It can be a happy one. It can be an exciting one. It can be a funny one. Think about these stories. Tell stories more. When you begin to tell stories more, you're going to connect more with people, which is going to produce those sales. It's going to produce those recruits, all of that, okay? Second thing I want to tell you, again, so tell your stories that touch you. The second thing I want to tell you is don't try to memorize all the words. I think so often we're like, okay, I'm going to memorize exactly what I'm going to say. Even if you're not writing it out, you're just talking about it, okay? We want to memorize exactly what we're going to say. We want to memorize all the words. No. Stop memorizing the words and memorize the visualization. Visualize yourself there. Put yourself in those shoes. Take yourself back to that time. That oral storytelling that I tell my story with my fertility, with my past, with my whatever. Every story that I tell, it's an oral story that I often do orally before I write it, okay? So we've got to get really good at this oral storytelling. Stop trying to memorize the words. Memorize that emotion that you felt. Memorize and visualize that scene and the emotions that you had in that moment. That's what you need to memorize. Don't memorize exactly what to say or whatever. visualize, because when you do, you're going to connect with people. You're going to touch. Are y'all understanding where I'm tracking? Okay. Because you have power when you tell stories. You have got to become an expert at telling stories. All right. The next thing is you need to know the message of your story. Are you just telling a story to just tell a story? Or is there a purpose and a meaning behind it? What's the intention behind the story you're telling? I don't want you to just to tell stories and make people laugh. What is the intention? What's that message behind it? What's the point? Is it a clear message? Is it a clear focus, a clear vision? So that you don't have to push what your message is. Is what you are sharing clear and precise? The post I made did not say, and you need to join my team for $19.99 and this, that, and the other, and this. Like, the message is clear. It's concise. It's to the point. It gives you the past, present, and future. And it has a clear message. You're not having to push, join my team, join my team. Was that a recruiting post? 100% it was. But you don't see me saying, you need to join my team, you need to join my team. No, I'm connecting with people. I'm sharing part of my story so that I don't have to push my message so much, because I know the intention when I'm sharing it. Does that make sense? Number 4, you need to take time to pause. Y'all, when you're telling your story, you don't just word vomit. Okay, when you're orally telling a story, in my stories all the time, I tell stories. In my reels, in my Facebook lives, whatever. Not just a written story, okay? With your voice, I take people on a story. There are often times when I just pause. And that grabs people's attention. Don't feel like you have to burst this story out and give them this long, lengthy thing. Take a minute to pause. When you take a minute to pause, that's going to connect. Let me give you an example. Here we go. Okay. That was number 4. Okay. But take time to pause. Y'all, I will never forget. I was standing in my kitchen and my husband looked at me and said, how much money do we have in our bank account? And I told him we only had $100. And I had to wait a whole 2 weeks before I was going to get paid. I didn't know how we were going to pay groceries. I didn't know how we were going to get gas. I didn't know how we were going to pay our bills. I was scared. And I'll never forget. You hear that pause? And I'll never forget. I made a decision that day. That I was no longer going to live paycheck to paycheck. I was no longer going to live trying to check my bank account. Every time I swiped my card, I was going to do more for my family. And I was going to provide an opportunity. I didn't know what it was, but I was going to provide an opportunity. And then pharmacy happened. Do you see how I took you on this journey? You felt connected. You felt in tune. You felt the emotion. You could put yourself in my shoes in that moment. I paused. I made you think and wonder, okay, what is she going to do next? What did she do so that she wasn't living paycheck to paycheck? I attracted you. I pulled you in. Is this making sense? Are you feeling value? Y'all ain't giving me a whole bunch of hashtag values. You've got to pause to give them time to react, to respond to it, okay? Number 5, tell less, not more. I'm not giving you a 10-page story. I'm not talking to you for 20 minutes or 10 minutes. I'm telling you less, but I'm getting to the point. Busy taking notes. Good. I love it. Okay. I'm getting to the point. Okay. This is so important. I think so often we give people the novel, 20 chapters of your story. I don't want 20 chapters. I want 2. Short and sweet. This is so important. Stop making them so long. Stop giving people long paragraphs, short and sweet. Okay. You want people, again, to see themselves there in that moment, to be able to put themselves in their shoe. Okay. In your shoe. When you give too many details, people check out. I could have said, y'all, I'll never forget. It was on September 22nd in 2017. I was at my house, and it was a brown house, and we had a big old backyard, and my husband had just come home from police officer because, he's a police officer here in town, and he was taking off his belt and we were in the kitchen and I was cooking dinner and he asked me how much money we had. And so I had to go find my phone, which the funny story was in the bathroom. No one cares about that. No one cares about that. I didn't give you all the boring details. Be intentional. Get to the point of the story, but allow people to visualize what you are trying to get a point across, okay? And again, ask questions until you can visualize it, okay? When you are getting ready to tell this story, ask yourself questions. Can you visualize it? What was I feeling like that day? Where was I at? What season of life was I in? Ask yourself questions so that you can visualize yourself in that moment, because when you can visualize it, other people are going to be able to visualize it as you portray it, okay? And then number 6 is become a friend with the silence. Like I said, that pausing, taking the time when you're sharing that story, even at the end, I could have said, and I'll never forget when I had my first 5-figure paycheck. I was sitting in Walmart parking lot and tears just rolled down my face because I didn't think it was going to happen for me again. Do you see? Taking time in that silence. There's nothing bad about silence. Again, people can feel connected. I'm like getting tears in my eyes because, guys, I remember exactly how I felt in that moment. I can put myself in that parking lot to this day. You've got to be able to become a friend with the silence, okay? All right, so that's just kind of the basics of telling a story. We talked about the 3 parts, and then we talked about 6 things for how to tell a story and what you need to be portraying and thinking about as you are orally reading or writing a story, okay? You have to make yourself so valuable that you are not going to be replaced, okay? What do you have to offer? What is so valuable about you and your story that you can't be replaced, okay? Share your story in that short form. I don't need long form all the time. What's your full story, but in a short form? And you need to say it constantly. I can't tell you how many times I've told the story that I posted tonight about $100 in my bank account, not knowing how I was going to pay because teachers only get paid once a month. I've told that story over and over and over and over. And that's not just my life story. That's my business story, okay? Why I decided to do this. But I tell that story constantly because remember, it takes someone 7 times before they hear it. But the more that they tell it, then people are going to be like, oh, that's the girl that only had $100 in her bank account and didn't know how she was going to pay for groceries or pay for fertility. So she decided to do something about it. Jessie Lee, I know that she came from a dirt poor home. She had nothing. Her parents weren't there. Her grandma raised her. How do I know that? Because she tells her story all the time. I know that she had a car that she drove around and that's how she got from place to place and got to start growing her business. How do I know that? Because she tells her story all the time. You need people to be able to connect with you and feel like what you are giving is so valuable that you can't be replaced. All right? Tell your story more, and that's how it will get to the masses. And all the pieces, not just parts of it. Tell all of your story, not just my business, my personal life, my infertility, my walk with the Lord, church planning, this, that, and the other, my car. Tell all of it, because that's when people connect deeply. When people can connect deeply, they're going to buy from you and they're going to join you. All right? Let's think about Tony Robbins. We're getting to the juicy stuff about stories that you need to write, okay? Tony Robbins. Why did he want to feed billions of people? I bet you some of you know Tony Robbins' story, and you can tell me right now. How do you know it? Because you've heard him tell it over and over and over and over. Just like I just said about Jessie Lee. Tony Robbins. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Christy. Why does he want to feed billions of people? Because he had no Thanksgiving ever. And he was dirt poor, and he has decided that he's not going to let that happen, and he's going to do it for other people. He's providing that because, again, his experience and what he's been through. He's not replaceable. Who else is going to be giving billions of dollars in food and feed billions of people? No one. If it's not your story, and that's his story, and that's what connects, and he wants to give that to thousands and billions of people. Okay? But that is something that connects deeply. You can hear Tony Robbins talking about never having a Thanksgiving and what that was like. Again, because he's connecting with you. He's putting you in, you're putting yourself in his shoes by the way that he's sharing your story, because you can connect with it. Whether it's your story or not, whether you can relate to it or not, you're connected because you're like, oh, all of you don't struggle with infertility. But every time I share my story, y'all are like, oh, why? Because you're connected to me. Does that make sense? Hey, Hope. Okay. We need to show our short form and our long form content, not just, that quick and easy is good too, but also you can do long form. But so we got to get a good balance of the two. Okay. Everything that you do, hey, Lauren, you can tie into a story. Everything you do. We all do something for a reason, and we just got to start telling the truth. Start telling the stories. All right. Everybody loves stories because that's when they feel like they're a part of your brand. My network right now feels like they are a part of this infertility journey because they are, all right? But I've built that brand around infertility. Jessie Lee has built her brand around, she's the #1 network marketer. Tony Robbins has built his brand. People build their brand around who they are, and then the storytelling, they can feel like they are a part of it. What's going on? People love that. People are nosy, but it also gives them an opportunity to escape their own lives. Okay. Y'all know you love listening to other people's stories because you don't have to think about your own life and what you've got. Okay. See, Elizabeth, I brought you guys in on that journey. Hi, Brittany. All right. People love to escape their own lives. When I did nighttime lives on Facebook, people love to escape their own life and they just like to hang out with me. Why? Because I just did life with them. I took them on a journey. I did stories with them. I talked about my day. All right. This book is amazing stories. Yes. Okay. So there are 5 types of stories that we've got to get really good at telling. Okay. The first type of story is the low to high, okay? A low to high story. These are stories that we've got to start writing, talking about, sharing. The low to high, okay? That's when you explain a low point and being the person that overcame, okay? Details, your strengths that you developed because of this journey. I started here when I developed this strength. I became more self-aware. I became proud of what I looked like, okay? The low to high, self-confidence. But at the end, you're celebrating with yourself, okay? Maybe you need to talk about where you started your business and where you came from. What was the low point? What was the turning point? What makes you credible now on how you can help people, okay? I did that tonight, my low to high. I had no money. I joined network marketing and now I have financial freedom and I'm teaching others to do the same thing. What makes you credible? Because you can just say, oh, and now my life has changed. Okay, give me more than that. What makes it credible? All right, that's the first one, low to high. The second one, your why story. That's your brand. That's your personal story, okay? There is more meaning than just the money that you are making, okay? You didn't just join for money. There's more behind it. There's a more deeper reason. Some people it's freedom. Some people it's contribution. Some people just want to have happier people around them. Some people it's they want to help the world. There's different reasons for why you join. Why do you do what you do? Why do you work with who you do? Okay, what drives you to get up? A time in your life when you needed what you have now. Okay, that is the why, taking people on the why of your story. Again, you are doing this why. Shelby joined for community, taking people on the why of your story. Okay, number 3, your human element stories. Okay, this is a story that deepens your connection with people. Okay, stories that you share that guess what? You're just a human. All right, because we are. And then you sprinkle in these within what you do. Okay, these aren't what you talk about every single day, all day. No, you sprinkle these in with what you do. Okay, so this may be your family. This may be your hobbies. This may be sports that you do. It may be a TV show. It may be a podcast. It may be a book. It may be something that you're like unreasonably passionate about. Maybe you're super passionate about non-toxic ingredients, or you're super passionate about birth control, or you're super passionate about Coke Zero. I don't know. Whatever you're super passionate about, okay? Unreasonably. There's no reason. It doesn't help your brand. Like, I don't know. Maybe you're super passionate about celebrating all the holidays, or I don't know, whatever you're super passionate about. Not, talking about Santa. I don't know. Unreasonably. It has nothing to do with your brand, has nothing to do with your story. What is something that you're unreasonably passionate about? Okay, maybe it's something you're really bad at that you just sprinkle in. Okay, I know, again, Jessie Lee's my coach, so I can say this. I know she stinks at math. I know that she is not good at it. How do I know that? Because she just sprinkles it in. Y'all know I love Coke Zero. How do you know that? Because I just sprinkle it in. Maybe you sprinkle in that you love cooking. Maybe you sprinkle in that you're not organized. Maybe Jamie Rodebush, I know she puts her kitchen to bed every night, sprinkling it in. All right. Maybe you talk about travels you've been on. These are just different things that show that you are human element stories. Okay. These are stories that you write and tell and you talk about. Number 4. Okay. This one is something that I don't think a lot of us do, but you actually need to be sharing testimonial and customer reviews. So when someone says, you're really great at color matching, okay, or you don't talk about it. Don't underestimate the power of what your customers say. Shelby started gardening. I love it, Shelby. Sprinkling it out there. All right. Don't underestimate the power of your customer stories when explaining what you do to people. Numbers and statistics are not as real or concrete. When you just say, oh, I've never had a customer return a product. Okay, cool. But when so-and-so says, girl, this is the best mascara I've ever had, blah, blah, blah. These are stories that you are telling because you are irreplaceable. Remember, you've got to own that and you've got to share that. All right. Share your testimonial. Share those customer reviews. Explain what they bought, how they felt before you did this, and when you did this, what happened. Okay. Before they joined you or before they bought this product, this is what happened. And when you joined or when they bought this, this happened. Okay, sharing those types of stories. What was their result? Describe your clients. Sally Sue came to me struggling one day because her makeup just would not last all day long. And she was sick of having to go home and reapply at lunchtime. Okay, describing, you're taking people on this journey. All right. Maybe you say, why did they purchase your VFX foundation or your collagen or your opportunity? Why did they do this? You're sharing these stories, you guys. There's value in this. I'm telling you. How were you able to help so-and-so? What happened? Or how did they feel after you helped them? Or how did they feel after they joined you? These are stories that you've got to become good at telling. Okay. Number 5, teaching. Telling your audience they need to do something, but teaching them a lesson. Share a lesson that you've learned. Give advice to your audience. Right now, I'm teaching and sharing advice about infertility all over the place. Someone who lives what you are teaching. Maybe you can share what you're teaching. Maybe you're teaching algorithms on social media and you're teaching people how to make reels. You're sharing the value that people are getting from your teaching. Explain. Maybe you watch a movie or you watch a video and you explain, okay, the lesson that you learned from the movie that day. You teach them a lesson. Or maybe you talk about lessons that you learned from history. You are teaching people lessons, okay? There you go, Elizabeth. That's going to be part of a story. You can take that. Once she finds her match, so-and-so, that's a connective. She could never. I remember her telling me she could go to every single store and she couldn't find a shade. She went to Sephora. She went to Ulta. She went to Walmart. She went to Target. Nowhere. She could never find a shade to match her Indian tones. And so she came to me and I was able to match her perfectly. And this is how she felt. She finally felt seen. She finally felt heard. She finally felt like she mattered. Again, it's this story that you are taking people on, okay? So those are the 5 stories that we've got to get good at telling. Again, you might need to come back to these and re-teach yourself what all I'm saying, all right? Low to high. the why story, human element stories, testimonials, customer reviews, and 5, teaching people. Tell your stories daily. I don't care which of those 5 stories it is. Again, beginning, middle, and end, past, present, and future. Tell them. You need to tell your story every single day about what you do, why you do it, your personal life, whatever. Tell your story daily. And those other ones that I just said, those other 5, those are just extra. Okay? Those are just extra stories that you can sprinkle in as you are becoming an expert on storytelling. People see themselves inside of other people's stories. So take that to your advantage. That's when people connect. That's when people are like, oh, she's speaking to me. Oh, I can relate to that. Oh, I'm her. Oh, I've been her. Oh, I don't want to be her. Oh, you know what I mean? Okay. You're sharing your story daily, but those other 5, you're just sprinkling in. Your testimonials, your teaching, your human element stories, your why story, your low to high. Tell your story, okay? Every single day. Every single day. And then those other ones you just sprinkle in. Okay, how do you feel about storytelling? Do you feel like you can master this now? What are your thoughts? Give me some feedback. How you feeling? We've talked about the beginning, middle, and end, past, present, and future when you're telling stories. All right? In the past, I did this. Since doing this, the result was this, and now in the future, okay? We talked about different things about stories touching you, not memorizing words, knowing the message, pausing, being okay with the silence, talking less, okay? And then we talked about the short form and long form of your stories, and then stories that we've got to write. Again, you're sharing your story daily. But those other ones, your low to high, your why, your human element stories, how often you're telling your testimonials and all of that, your teaching stories, those you just sprinkle in, okay? The other ones you start telling every single day. The other ones you just sprinkle in here and there, okay? Yay? We're going to become experts. Again, when you can become an expert, you're going to make tons of money. And you're gonna make a great impact. For sure can do it. Just have to focus on it. Yeah, and then it'll become normal. Now I don't think about like, oh, what story can I do today? No, it's my life now. I just do it all the time. All right. I love it, Renee. I'm proud of you. Now it just comes naturally when I'm doing my posts. I'm like, oh shoot, I just did the past, present, future thing. Okay. It just becomes a habit eventually. But when you become an expert on these storytelling, that's when money happens. That's when an impact happens. Because y'all, it's not just about the money. It's the impact too that you make on people's lives. The way that you touch people's lives and you can relate to them and they can put themselves in your shoes. And then they may buy from you eventually. You may be that expert for them. They may come back and support you. All right? Past, present, future. Yes. Okay. I love you guys. I hope this was valuable. Again, you're going to need to watch this, rewatch it, take bits and pieces. I just literally word vomited like 2 weeks of training into one video. But I think that if you come back and you rewatch it and you watch it again, okay, what were those human element stories? And you start pausing me or I'm talking to you about what human element stories are. All right. You can become a master. Okay, am I a master at human element stories? Nope. Okay, what did Ashley say about human element stories? Okay, I'm going to become a master at that. Okay, she said teaching stories. All right, what did Ashley talk about with teaching stories? Come back, listen to teaching stories. Okay, I just word vomited all these different stories that you need to become a master at doing on a regular basis. Your story you share daily. These other stories you sprinkle in. Okay. All right. I love you guys. Hope y'all found value. And I will see you guys soon. All right. Love you guys. Have a wonderful night. Bye, y'all.